All right, we are joined by head coach Hines. As always, thanks for the time. Making the trip across country here this week. Just give us your initial thoughts on Seattle and what kind of you expect to see in the match on Sunday.
Yeah, we obviously looked back at their last game against Portland. And I don't think the scoreline reflected their performance. I thought they put up a good fight against Portland. Obviously, the penalty probably changed the outcome of the game. They're a good team. We got an experienced coach there as well, who's won a lot in this league, and so we have to be mindful of Seattle and what they can create, and it's going to be a challenging game for us. Because our record's not great away at Seattle, and so that's something that we want to improve and continue this momentum that we showed early on in the season.
With Seattle, playing at Lumen Field with the turf and the football stadium, does that kind of affect or change anything that you guys prepare for in terms of just how the ball rolls or anything like that?
Yeah, it's definitely different playing on turf. I spent 2 years at Camp and World playing on turf, and it wasn't the easiest. The bounce of the ball does change. We've got an early kickoff as well, and depending on the weather, can change in an instance. I think they'll probably wet the field earlier, and then it may dry out, and so the bounce, the trajectory of the ball will change, and so we have to adapt to that. And I think it will pose some challenges. One thing we can control is how we play and our mentality going into the game, and I think that will be a constant regardless on if we play on turf or on grass.
Defensively for this team, we've talked a lot about how it's been solid. You've kind of found a lineup that has been consistent in back-to-back clean sheets. How have you kind of seen the growth of the back line in terms of especially some of the younger players like Gary Abello and Emily Sams, and just their trajectory in this team and how they've kind of stepped up in different roles?
Yeah, I always go back to the start of the season. We have a good group of footballers, and positions are just starting points. And you look at the modern day game, centre backs have to be able to play at fullback and defend in fullback situations. So with like Emily moving to right back, it's been an easier transition for her. Kerry Abello has played a lot of games at left back in a collegiate career. She came as a left back, so it's probably a natural position, but never want to take qualities going forward as well. The deep runs, taking on players in that position, and converting Kylie into a centre back. She's fitted in really well. Rafa, it's a collective effort. We do a lot of work on it on the training grounds. Bree, Carrie, Corey's played there as well. Celia, you look at the start of the year, we had 4 fullbacks playing against Angel City, and so it's prepped us really well into this period of the season, and so we can rely on anyone who has to go in and do a job in those positions. And so it's made it easier for me because our principles, our culture has been terrific, and they're doing whatever it takes to get the 3 points at the end of the game.
How important is it just to have center backs that are comfortable on the ball? I know you enjoy playing the ball out of the back, but being able to have center backs that can control the pace of the game and handle the pressure when teams are pressing high. How important is that for you, just to build up with the team?
Yeah, it's massive. Again, they're all really good footballers, and I think that's probably been the evolution of the game. Back when I started, it was more head it and kick it centre backs, old English football. But you see the modern game now, and it's a lot of playmaking comes from at the back. So they have to be good passers of the ball. They have to read the press, read defenders' movements to find midfielders and forwards in threatening areas. And so, yeah, they have to be comfortable in those situations, even though it might be high risk and going into hard environments where there's a lot of fans and they're nervous expressions are on the field. And so, yeah, you have to have a calm demeanour in there and know what your decisions are. But you can see that it's working really well for us, and the more that teams commit to their press, it opens up gaps, and we can get to our forwards who can hopefully score the goals at the end of it.
How has that mentality changed changed you as a coach? Kind of just as you mentioned, you were taught with the head and kick the ball away, but now the game has changed so much that you have to adapt. And how do you kind of adjust your mentality from what you learned growing up to now coaching and adapting to this new style of play?
I think I was in that period where the transition was happening as well. So I had some really top coaches as I was growing up. Some who are now coaching at the highest level. So I learned a lot from them, but also keeping up to date with the modern game as well. I was part of that centre back who had to play through the lines and play through to the midfielders or the wingers, and so just learning and seeing how the game's evolving has allowed me to coach in that way. Also being put in that position, the same as like some of our defenders, I've been in those situations, and so there's a very big mental aspect to it as well, having that confidence to try things. But you can't take away the old school. Like it's part of the game as well. Teams are going to put the ball into the box, and you have to have that mentality to head it, clear it away, defend, put your body on the line. And I think that's something that might be a dying art, but we try to keep that constant within our group.